got Harpootlian. What, you got Ray-Bans on or something? You looking all fashionable. All right, guys. So this is defense. They did a press conference. Let's see what they say. I mean, obviously it's going to be like, appeal. We think the judge was unfair. Should not have let all the financial stuff in. We're going to appeal this. But then, I don't know. Are they going to have money?
Go live
to their
presser.
Hey, Harpootlian.
I'm Dick Harpootlian. This is Jim Griffin. That's Emily Dale. That's Maggie Fox. That's Holly Miller. And this is Phil Barber. We are Alec Murdaugh's defense team. We're able to answer your questions. We're not going to make a statement. I know y'all don't want one. So, anybody got a question?
Do you think it was a mistake to put Alex Murdaugh on the stand?
No. Next.
Really? Can we get Jim to answer instead? Dick, step aside. I want Jim to answer these questions.
Mr. Harpootlian, why did you object to that juror being dismissed yesterday?
Why didn't I?
Why did you?
Well, for two reasons. One, she admitted she talked to other people about the case, but not specifically. But technically, I think the judge had leeway to excuse her, but she clearly, after we interviewed her back in chambers, in my mind, had not made up her mind. And I thought that was important.
Do you think she would have held your case?
I don't know. She didn't express an opinion to us. She said she was open. She had made up her mind.
Oh, because then people were saying like, oh, the egg lady had already made up her mind. She was non-guilty. But Harpootlian's saying otherwise.
Mr. Harpootlian, the defense has made a great deal of points about SLED and their handling the investigation. For your position in the Senate, do you feel there's an opportunity to address that from a legislative standpoint?
The audio's so low, I can only hear what Harpootlian's really saying.
I think there were significant issues, but I won't be addressing that in the Senate unless it comes up in a bill. I'm not going to mix this role with my role as a senator. I would not do that.
Why do you think that the prosecutors didn't take the death penalty in this case? And what do you make about the judge's comments after the verdict that he agreed with the jurors?
Go ahead.
Use death penalty.
What now?
Death penalty question.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Why did they?
Dick's like, I don't want to answer this one, Jim. You do it. Jim's like, bro, this is like a death penalty question. That's your game. Harpoon looking like a 1980s East German assassin.
Should get death penalty.
Well, you know, I'm somebody that's prosecuted and defended a bunch of death penalty cases, and clearly, and you never do it in a circumstantial case. Because you're not 99 times out of 100, a jury's not going to sentence somebody to death without I saw him do it, he confessed, or great forensic evidence at the minimum. They had none of that here. Secondly, in a death penalty case, it gives us the ability to individually voir dire jurors, which would have been very helpful here. And the prosecution obviously didn't want that. So I don't disagree with, if I'd been prosecuting this case, I probably wouldn't have brought it, but based on, what we heard was presented to the Colleton County grand jury by Detective
So that question must be like, oh, why do you think they didn't ask for the death penalty?
Owen, that Jim crossed, blood spatter that didn't exist, testimony about guns that was wrong. I can go through the litany with you. Going back to his question, I think SLED needs to do some self-examination on the forensic processing. They did not. One of the things we complained about was that Maggie's phone would have had all her GPS data on it if they processed it within 5 days. And they
But would it have been helpful to your client, Mr. Harpootlian, or would it have been damaging?
because they didn't, the GPS data got overridden. It was just one, which would have been helpful to Alec. It's fingerprints, footprints, and all kinds of forensic things that weren't done. So what was the question about the judges?
What did you make about the judge's comments after the verdict that he agreed with it and thought it was the right conclusion?
He's entitled to his opinion.
Mr. Harpootlian, can you expect an appeal anytime soon?
10 days we'll be filing an appeal.
What do you believe is strong?
Oh, 10 days, file an appeal. Okay.
Grounds for an appeal are?
What'd you say?
What do you believe the strongest grounds for an appeal are?
But
It was the admission of all the financial
The question was, what do you think is your strongest ground for appeal was? And now Jim is going to talk about the finance stuff.
crime evidence, and that was offered up, as evidence of motive. that because he was confronted about one financial transaction involving attorney's fees by the chief accountant of the law firm, that was being offered as motive for why he would go home and kill his wife and son, which we thought was illogical and ludicrous. And there really was no evidence linking one to the other, and we did not think it should come in. Not only did that come in, but every other financial misdeed that they could bring in over the last 10 or 15 years was allowed in, and we think that we strongly objected. We respect the judge's decision, but we believe that was an erroneous decision, and we believe that the judge was somewhat misled, because at the conclusion of the case, when Mr. Metters is up on his rebuttal argument in front of
Oh, yeah. For my YouTube channel, I don't do gaming on here. I do gaming on my other channel. But for YouTube, I keep it strictly like true crime, real life stuff.
the jury, he says to the jury, oh, forget about all that motive evidence. We don't have to prove motive. We just have to prove malice, which is right. But why did they go to all the effort to prove motive when at the end they say, you don't have to believe us on our motive theory, but by then they had cast Alec as a despicable human being, and that was the reason they offered it in the first place. And we think the appellate courts will take a strong look at that. We feel like that is a very solid ground for an appeal, and we're going to pursue that.
Looking back at the last 6 weeks, long trial, would you guys do anything different in the last 6 weeks? How you handled
No.
anything in this trial?
No. I mean, look,
They wouldn't do anything different. Are you sure? Are you sure, Jim? Are you sure? Roadside shooting stuff?
once the judge first of all, we believe if the judge was going to let that stuff in, it should have been limited to the Ferris case, which is what they were asking him about on Monday on the fee. Number two, Tinsley, the person that made the motion to compel to be heard on Thursday, Dawes Cook, Alex's lawyer, both agreed there wasn't going to be any storm or Armageddon or anything that was going to happen that Thursday. The judge might have issued an order, which months down the line might have posed a problem. So once they got that character character information is he's a thief, he's a liar, then it dictated this jury had to think he was a despicable human being and not to be believed. So it was about character. It wasn't about motive. So as a result, our options were limited. Should he take the stand? Well, you know, we debated that. He always wanted to take the stand. But once that information was in, I mean, he had to take the stand to explain the kennel video, the lie, if you will.
He had to take the stand. It's not his fault. You know, he had to explain the kennel video lie. He had to explain why he stole money from people.
He had to, but he had no credibility. His credibility had been stripped away by the financial misdeeds.
So if his credibility has been stripped away, then why haven't testified?
Yes.
How is Buster doing and why?
What is it? He said yes.
By the financial
Do you believe
misdeeds.
his claim today that he's innocent?
Yes.
Why does Harpoon sound so angry? Someone said, do you believe his claim today, his claim of innocence? Yes. God damn it. Fucking reporters.
How is Buster doing and why did he choose not to speak at the sentencing?
How is Buster doing and why did he choose not to speak at the sentencing?
We could have had Mother Teresa up there speaking on behalf of Alec at sentencing.
We didn't ask about Mother Teresa. We're asking about Buster, Jim.
I mean, he was getting a double life sentence. That was expected. I mean, this was Judge Newman. He's a very stringent punisher when it comes to crimes and sentences. I mean, that was never in dispute. And so for Buster to get up and speak on his dad's behalf would not have made a difference. And why do you want to put that kid through more trauma than anybody that you can imagine has ever been through?
Have his feelings about his dad changed at all since the trial?
What's that?
Have his feelings about his dad changed at all?
Has his feelings about his dad changed at all after the trial?
I can't speak to Buster's feelings. I can tell you this. There was a lot of effort by the state to convince the family that Alec is the murderer. The family came to trial every day for 6 weeks, expecting to hear proof positive that he killed Maggie and Paul, something that they had not heard before.
They've heard a lot of things that they haven't heard before, probably coming out of Alex's mouth.
After 6 weeks of trial, they came away more convinced that he did not do this, and they steadfastly in his camp. And
Wait, which family though? Are you including like his side of the family, or are you including Maggie's side of the family as well?
and support him, and that's where they stand.
What's next for Alex?
What's next for Alex?
Well, Alex will be leaving shortly to go to Columbia to R&E, it's called, where he'll be at the South Carolina Department of Corrections. He'll be evaluated. That's about a 30-day process, and then he'll be sent to wherever the correctional facility that they assign him to.
Are you asking for any special security measures for him?
No, I don't
Something about Buster security measures?
think. You know, Alec was not optimistic that with all of the scrutiny and press and all of his bad acts being out in the public, in the world, media domain.
Like, what did he still want to get security? Because the real killers are still out there. They can still get Buster.
That he could get, a jury to put out all the noise and just focus on the murder. And so coming in, he was somewhat pessimistic. He became optimistic as we got through the process, but
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even if I knew that the judge was like very stringent upon his putting a sentencing, I would do whatever I can to go up there and vouch for my mom, dad, or whatever it is. If I truly believe they didn't do it, I wouldn't care if I went up there and looked stupid, I would have fucking went up there and be like, you didn't do it. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? But, I think they know. I think deep down inside, I think he knows his daddy did it.
But I got to tell you, and all you reporters, you know the whole story, I'm sure. And if you're sitting on that jury, they heard everything that would be in an HBO documentary, a Netflix documentary about the Murdaugh family dynasty downfall, except the Stephen Smith matter. I mean, so we
Jim over here advertising for Netflix and HBO.
we were hoping to get a jury to put all, that could ignore the noise, focus on the murder, and we ended up trying a case that they could have watched on Netflix.
Does your legal team have any regrets about the way that you guys performed in this trial? Do you feel like you did? Do you feel like you were outmatched in closing arguments?
Oh, absolutely.
Something about, did your legal team feel like you guys were outmatched? That's all I kind of heard. Also, here's the thing. I wanted one of the reporters to ask, how come the family hasn't hired a PI? Are they hiring a PI right now? Are they going to find out who did it? Who's the real murderers? Is that going on right now? Is there ongoing PI you guys got out there?
Absolutely not. I mean, not outmatched. I mean, look, they won this case the day the judge bought into letting them put every piece of, stealing from kids who lost their mother, from somebody with pancreatic cancer, somebody that's a paraplegic. I mean, all of that 2.5 weeks, by the time they got done with it, it didn't matter about final argument. It didn't matter about what we put up.
No, it still mattered. It still mattered.
They would never, ever, ever acquit him after that.
No, that's not true, Harpoot. Come on.
Last
You know better than that, Harpoot.
question.
What your grounds for appeal will be? You said it's going to be 10 days. Can you lay out your key arguments in that?
We'll file something not in 10 days, but we'll file a notice of intention to appeal. Then we've got 30 days, I think, to file a brief.
Yeah, so you file the notice within 10 days. You got to get a transcript.
Oh, that'll take a while.
That'll take months before they type up everything, and then we start briefing.
Are you all going to handle the appeal
Yes.
and argue it in the court of
Whoa, they're doing the appeal. Jim Harpoot never goes away. All right.
appeals?
See what happens.
Supreme Court?
And the U.S. Supreme Court.
And the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary. That's correct.
What's the federal issue?
Doyle.
Oh, there's a huge federal issue. That's why I got so animated, and the judge told me to sit down. Part of the trial is the state eliciting or asking questions of Alec about why he did not come forward and tell law enforcement where he was at the time of the kennel video. And that was after he was arrested. And there's U.S. Supreme Court cases are clear that post-arrest silence cannot be used against you. And that is a classic violation of the Fifth Amendment. And we feel strongly that if we lose at the state courts, we'll have success at the federal
Can you
court.
tell us about the plea negotiation?
But I remember the judge addressed that, saying that like, oh well, y'all went on like HBO or something and said that Alec was sleeping, or if I'm remembering correctly.
Before trial?
No.
There were no plea negotiations.
There weren't any.
They never offered him anything.
If Alec is
Wait, there's no plea. Man, we're hearing different things. I heard there was a plea negotiation. Oh, who do we believe, guys? I heard that they offered him 30 years for all the crimes, which I thought was kind of light. Remember we talked about this yesterday? But these two are saying he never got a plea negotiation. What?
If you think Alec is innocent, what effort are you making to find the real killer, or what effort does he
What effort are you making to find the real killers? Do you think Harpootlian put his glasses on because he doesn't want his poker face to be shown? All right, let's see. Let's listen again.
If you think Alec is innocent, what effort are you making to find the real killer, or what effort is he making?
Jim's like, oh, fuck. I don't want to answer this one. She said, what effort are you making to find the real killers?
Not our
They're both chuckling.
What effort are you making to find the real killer, or what effort is he making?
not our job to find the real killer. If they had taken fingerprints, if they gotten footprints, if they hadn't destroyed, if they preserved Maggie's phone with her GPS, if they had not, I mean, they misrepresented to the grand jury that they had a shirt with his blood on it. When they, and if if Owen had opened his email, he says he didn't get, would have told him a year before there was no human blood on that T-shirt. I mean, it was a comedy of errors in terms of forensics on this. So, do I have faith that they would find the real killer? No.
Is Alec Buster's safety? Is Alec?
We don't know. What? Last question.
Is Alec what?
Buster's safety?
Real killer? No.
Is Alec Buster's safety?
Is Alec concerned for Buster's safety? Exactly. The real killers are out there, guys.
Is Alec?
What? We don't know. What? Last question.
Harpootlian's so over that. It's like, man, it's lunchtime. Get me out of here.
Last question.
Defendant on the stand, Alec Murdaugh.
Say that one more time.
Did you support putting Alec Murdaugh on the stand?
Did you support putting Alec Murdaugh on the stand?
There was no choice.
No choice.
Why?
Because he had been made out to be a monster who stole from children and crippled people and crippled not. That's not a politically correct word.
Harpootlian's like, wait, hold on, I don't want to get canceled. Hey, Jim, help me out here. Jim's like, I don't fucking know, man. Oh, these two are so cute.
He'd been made out to be a monster who stole from children and crippled people and crippled not. That's not a politically correct word. I'm sorry, I'm an old guy. Crippled people who had just done horrible, despicable things.
It's okay. You're old.
And he had to try to push back on that.
Yeah, because I remember Creighton said that the guy was like paraplegic, and then Alex like, no, quadriplegic. It's like, okay, like you're trying to correct Creighton, but like don't forget you also stole from this person. Like I don't know if it really helps you, but okay.
And I mean, if he'd went that way without taking the stand, he was toast. Taking the stand, could he pull it off? Apparently didn't.
In hindsight, do you regret not asking for a change of venue in this case?
Not really, because we checked. I mean, we did focus groups in this case in a county way far away from here. 8 of the 10 people on the 2 focus groups knew all about this case. I mean, there was nowhere you could go that you could find. We believe you could find a jury that didn't know, hadn't watched TV, hadn't read the stuff you write or the stuff the Twitter stuff. And by the way, one of the good piece of information now that this trial is over, Griffin can start tweeting again.
That's right.
Griffin can start tweeting again. I'm actually not really on Twitter, but I wonder if he's tweeted anything yet.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That was a very interesting press conference. Oh, they even let Mr. Barber speak. Oh, Mr. Barber.
Great question.